Hi everyone, it's Jennifer from Auburn Yoga and Pilates. We're going to do some gentle yoga for the hips tonight. I hope that you'll join us. Okay, let's get started. So we'll start off in a comfortable seated position. You want to locate those sitting bones and then lift up nice and tall through the crown of your head. Lift your shoulders up by your ears and then big exhale, let them relax down. And then on your next big inhale, let it come through the nose. And then exhale slowly out your mouth. And again, inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. One more time. Inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. Now, if you can, try to turn that into a purely nostril breath. In through the nose, out through the nose. As you inhale, let your torso fill with your breath. Letting your belly and your chest move away from your spine. And then as you exhale, let your belly and your chest come a little closer to your spine as that breath empties out. And then think about something that you would like to manifest into your day today. What do you need? And try not to pass any judgment on it. It's okay if it seems a little bit frivolous or a little bit silly. Maybe what you want to manifest into your day today is your favorite drink from Starbucks. Or maybe you want to make sure that you set time aside to reconnect with an old friend. Or maybe you want to take the time to watch that movie that's been on your list for a long time. Whatever it is, try to start to create a picture of what it looks like when you have it. You have the drink. You're texting or talking or sitting with that friend that you really wanted to connect with. Or you're sitting in your favorite chair watching that movie that's on your list. So just paint that picture in your mind, really trying to create a visual. And then adding some more detail, add some sounds. What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you feel now that you have it? Make it as realistic as possible and just sit in it for 2 minutes. Really trying to show yourself that it is real, so hopefully that you will manifest it into 3D. And deepening your breath, bringing yourself back into the room. And switch the cross of your legs, and then start to circle that spine. Try to wake up all of the energy centers in your back. So you want to try to make various parts of your back mobile, not just the part that maybe is the most easily mobile. And reverse direction. And holding it in the center, and then reaching that right arm up for a lateral stretch. Really lift that arm, reach through those fingers. Make your side body as long as possible. Take a nice deep breath and fill all those spaces in your side body with air. Exhale, drop that arm down, try the other side. Inhale, reach up. Grounding down through those sitting bones as you simultaneously reach through those fingers. Exhale down, bring yourself into an all fours position. Of course, if you have sensitive knees, you can pat your knees. You want to line up your wrist creases so that they're parallel to the short end of the mat, and then allow your pelvis to spill forward. Exaggerate, pressing those shoulder blades toward the front body. Trying to lengthen and open that entire front body through your abdominals, through your chest. And then switch, expand the back body. Rooting all those knuckles, all those fingertips into the floor. And then move between cat and cow. And then holding a neutral spine and letting your big toe mounts come together, letting your hips fall back toward your heels. Stretching those arms out in front for downward facing dog. Oh, sorry, child's pose. I'm thinking about downward facing dog. From here, shifting forward into an all fours position where your wrists stay slightly ahead of your shoulders. And then curl those toes under, lift those knees and hips. Here comes the down dog. Sometimes when you think a few steps ahead, your mouth follows suit. And then from here, dropping back down to that all fours position. Allow those big toe mounts to meet. And let those hips come back for some expression of child. And then flow between these three poses. So move with that you need to keep. But remember, you probably want to be somewhere between a snail and a rocket. So trying not to move as quickly as you could possibly move, and trying not to move as slowly as you could possibly move, just anywhere in the middle of those two places. And then holding it down in an all-fours position. You may end up wanting to take a block or a pillow and place it, I'll face this way, but pardon my back, between your ankles so that your toes point straight back. And basically, you want to sit on that block. Now, depending on your knees, you may end up sitting on a block and a blanket. You may end up sitting on 2 blocks, 2 pillows, any configuration of that. Really sitting up tall, lifting up through the crown of your head. Your heels end up just on the outside of your hips. Now, from here, you may end up needing a strap. We're going to go into cow face arms. So reaching that right arm up. You're going to try to keep the upper arm bone fairly vertical. Elbow points straight up. Allow that hand to come behind you. Now, modified, you're going to hold some sort of a belt or strap, a small towel will work. And you're going to bring your lower arm to approximately a 90-degree angle at that elbow. Now, if you're more comfortable, you can bring those hands toward each other, maybe even clasping those hands. So both of your upper arm bones are vertical. You should be feeling a stretch through the tricep of your upper arm. Through the chest and shoulder of your lower arm, and maybe even a couple other places. And release. Shaking out those arms and then trying the same thing on the other side. Reaching that left arm up. Bending that arm at your elbow. And reaching the other arm behind. In modified, you're going to keep that forearm fairly parallel to the floor. If you'd like, you can creep that hand up the strap. You may connect those hands. Release those arms. Bring yourself back into an all fours position. And bringing those wrists slightly ahead of your shoulders. Curling those toes under, pressing back once again to downward facing dog. Optional, lifting that right leg for three-legged dog. And then bending that leg, lifting that knee, opening up that hip. And then sweeping that leg through, dropping that back knee down. Walking those hands up your leg, reaching those arms up. Trying to lengthen that hip flexor and that back leg. So, trying to keep your sacrum fairly vertical, but letting your hips press forward and down while still maintaining front knee over front ankle. Exhale, those hands down. Now, bringing those hands, I'm just going to spin around, to the inside of that front foot. Now, even this may feel a little bit too intense for you, and if it does, you can always rest your hands on a block or something like a block. If you want to turn up the intensity a little bit, you can drop down to your forearms. You can allow your front knee, if you'd like, to fall out a little to the side because you're not really fully weight bearing on that front leg. So you're not putting your knee in a dangerous position. And slowly coming up, taking that leg, sliding it down, placing those wrists slightly ahead of your shoulders again, and once again coming into downward facing dog. This time lift that left leg up. And then, if you'd like, bend the knee, lift the knee, opening up the front of that hip. Lengthening that leg, stepping it through. Front knee over front ankle, walking those hands up your leg, drawing those shoulders back toward the hip, letting those hips sink forward and down, reaching those arms up. Sweep the hands down and take those hands to the inside of that front leg. Now you can keep the hips high or you can drop the hips a little lower. You can keep your hands resting on that mat, or you can drop your forearms to the floor or to a block. And then coming back up, stepping that leg back. You can rest in child's pose, or you can go into another downward facing dog. Entirely up to you. And then coming back down to an all fours position. This time, we're going to take that right knee up to our wrist. Now, your shin actually comes to a diagonal, so that your foot ends up in line with your opposite hip and thigh. And then curl your back toe under, lift that back knee. Shake the hips down, and then allow that back leg to rest back on the floor. So here's the view from the front as far as the shin. From the side, just spinning around. So if you're not familiar with the pose, you can see different angles. So we lifted that knee, and we dropped those hips down, and then you want to put a pillow or a folded blanket under that hip if it doesn't reach the floor. And you want those hips to be level so that when you come down, someone could put a tray of drinks on that sacrum. So you don't want to let your hip fall over. You'll lose that hip stretch. Placing a support under your hip benefits your knee so that that hip isn't just hanging out there. Some people like to stretch their arms in front, and some people like to rest on their forearms. Some people like to rest on a bolster. It's up to you. So, stretching the back, stretching the hip. Now there's so many different angles because we're going to add a variation to this pose. You stay where you are. I am just going to spin myself around one more time so that you can see the next option if you choose it. So, from here you can stay here, or you can simply take one arm and sort of gaze toward that front foot, or you can come into a twisted position. Now I've got fist to palm. You could do palm to palm. Your hands may be closer to your sternum than mine are. I can give myself a little deeper twist there to show you what I mean. Trying to keep the integrity of the pigeon as much as you can, even though you're twisting. then release. Curl those toes under and take that front leg back. Extending that leg, and you can rock back and forth. You can take that leg up and shake it about or circle it. Whatever you like. And then coming back to an all fours position. And then taking that opposite knee up behind the wrist. Remember that that shin is at a diagonal. The advantage for me doing this side is I can stay in one place because you've seen all the angles. Lift that back knee. Like gravity, take those hips down. And coming into some sort of a sleeping pigeon. And then optionally you can stay here, or you can twist toward that front foot, fist to palm, or palm to palm. Bringing it back, and bringing those wrists back underneath those shoulders, taking that leg back, extending it, shaking it out. And then coming back into a seated position. You can sit on a folded blanket or a pillow if you find that that's helpful, or you can sit directly on the floor if that's comfortable. And taking those legs out in front. Coming into a pose that we did in yin last night. If you joined us, don't worry, we won't hold it quite as long as we did last night. But we're going to come into that double pigeon. Now modified, you can simply cross one leg over, flex that foot, and come into that seated figure four stretch. If you feel comfortable doing so, you can try to bring your shins so that they are parallel to the wall that you're facing. So that's very important because almost always when I do this in class, I see people and they do this. Now I don't know if you can see what I did, but I basically took my lower foot and I moved it closer to my hips. You want to avoid that. You want to keep the shins perfectly parallel. So it's like two logs perfectly stacked, one on top of another, just like I'm demonstrating with my arms. Now, my hips are tight. I don't after doing this for 20 years, to get my legs to stack perfectly one on top of the other. This is where they go. Some of you will be able to stack them perfectly, and if you do, you may want to walk your hands forward into a seated fold while you're there. If you're like me, probably just better to focus on where you are. You want to make sure that your ankle stays straight. You want to make sure that you're not overstretching anything in your ankle. You want to keep your foot flexed to help protect that knee. You don't want to feel any discomfort in that knee. So holding here in fire log for a few more breaths. I know we tend to do a lot of hip opening classes, but hip openers are very important. Not that everything else isn't, but hip openers do help knees and backs. So a lot of people often, have some issues with those different areas. So hopefully keeping your hips strong and flexible are going to help. And then switching sides. So shaking it out in the middle. And then coming into the other side, and you'll find that you're not symmetrical. It's very unlikely that each side is going to be a mirror image of the other one. If you drive a lot, you may find that your right hip is a little bit tighter. They say that motion of pedal to brake helps contribute to that tightness. Remember that if you are able to stack those legs, you can definitely feel free to walk those hands forward. And release, shaking that out. And then taking those legs out wider than your hips. You can be very, very wide or just slightly wider than your hips. And folding forward. And then slowly coming up and coming into a supine position. So earlier in the class today, we did cow face arms. So now we're going to do a variation of cow face legs. My hips, again, are tight. I struggle with this one, but do what you can. take your right leg, cross it over your left. Now, ideally, you're going to get your knees one in front of the other. Even that is a challenge for me. But as best as you can, try to align your knees perfectly from front to back. Now, maybe you are able to bring the legs up and grab both legs. Maybe, especially on this side, one is a little elusive. You want to grab your outside leg or foot and allow those feet to go out to the side of the room. So again, you can see I have very tight hips. I'm not even able to grab my back leg. I had to use a strap. Now, the other option, of course, could be that you can modify this all together and come into a figure 4 stretch and skip those cow face legs. But many people who have the ability to open their hips a little bit more are really going to be able to give those legs a firm grip so that you can really get a nice stretch through that hip. So just holding wherever you are for a couple minutes, a couple breaths, a couple minutes. And then release. And then take those feet flat to the floor. And shake those legs from side to side. And then same thing, taking that left leg, crossing it over the right, if you're able to stack those knees perfectly, front to back. And then, if you're able to, grabbing hold of those legs and letting those feet move toward the side walls. And release, and shaking that out. And then lengthening those legs. Letting those knees and feet fall out to the sides slightly. Letting those arms rest by your sides with your palms facing upward. And bring yourself into a place for final relaxation. So you may want to put a prop under your legs or feet. You may want to put an eye pillow or a small towel over your eyes. You may want to place a blanket over your hips or over your upper thighs to ground you. Whatever you decide, you want to allow yourself to fully relax. And then bending your legs, planting your feet. Rolling to one side and eventually coming up to a seated position. Coming into a few seated cat and cows. And inhale, sweep those arms up. Exhale those hands down to heart center. The light within me salutes the light within you. Namaste. Thank you for joining us. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and share this with anyone who you may think would like it. And I hope you are well and hope to see you soon. Take care.